fastest growing lenders in the country. Thanks, Chuck. Dollar Loan Center has over 60 locations, or you can go to don'tbebroke.com and get fully funded from the comfort of your smartphone.
All right.
New customers enjoy 1 week free interest, and you can get up to $5,000 in minutes. Ready to sleep cooler? Shop at Mattress. Save up to
What's happening, everyone? We got me. We good to go. What's happening? Yeah. Yes. Yes. All right, we got Nnamdi Asomugha Day today. We're going to talk about Nnamdi Asomugha. I was at Raiders practice, which was really cool. And Bill Krackomberger, America's favorite sports gambler, is going to join us. What a great interview he is. Levi Edwards over at the Raiders facility. So we got a lot going on today. Chuck Mangione died. Hulk Hogan died. The Hulkster died. Malcolm Jamal Warner died. Ozzy Osbourne. Wow. That's not a good week. Smash the like button. Right? Smash the like button. Yep, I'm just getting the tweet out, the pre-show tweet.
Only at Grimaldi's can you get their famous New York style cook fire brick oven pizza. Grimaldi's has 4 locations in the Vegas Valley, or check them out online at grimaldizpizzeria.com.
Modelo is an official cerveza of the Las Vegas Raiders and the JT the Brick Show. Modelo Especial is a rich, full-flavored Pilsner-style lager, delivering a crisp, refreshing taste, brewed with fighting spirit since 1925. Raider Nation has found its new home for daily Raiders content. This is Raider Nation Radio.
All right.
KRMB Las Vegas.
You're listening to the JT the Brick Show, where the Raider Nation has come to sound off and react for over 20 years.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio.
Raiders bring a blitz. He takes it off the middle, and he's wrapped up from behind. Max Crosby.
Your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years.
Over to the 35, racing to the 20, 10, touchdown Raiders.
And now, here's JT the Brick.
Out of the gate. Oh, I'm fired up today. Let's go. Back from Raiders practice, I drove from the mean streets of Summerlin to deep Henderson, back to the studios of Lotus Broadcasting, and made it in time. Wow, these are early days, Bobby. I don't like getting up that early. I don't want to get up that early, but that's when Coach wants practice. He wants it at 8:30. You got to be there a little early, plenty of parking. Wow, big day today. Had another good practice where I watched practice with a bunch of smart guys, Vinny Bonsignor, Paul Gutierrez, Levi Edwards. Talked to a couple of coaches today, one-on-one, and sat in an air-conditioned suite. The Raiders have couple of air-conditioned suites out there for their season ticket holders, and the message is really heavy to everybody to get out there. They even gave me a tour of the parking lot. They built a temporary big parking lot. So you Raider fans, come early, come often, man. Pete Carroll reportedly wants more people out there. How cool is that? I didn't know what he was going to do. I had no idea if he wanted no one or he wants more people out there. So get on out here if you're a Raider fan. You're seeing all the insiders are tweeting it. Everybody's saying, get out here, fans. Go experience. And I hung out with a lot of fans today. Matter of fact, I climbed one of those circular stairs on the top of a trailer where there was a whole bunch of Raider fans that we hung out with and watched a few minutes of practice. So it was a fun day today. Really good day today. Ashton Genty spoke. Chip Kelly spoke, so we're going to play some of that here on the show and get rolling. Oh, today is our alumni, our featured alumni, most influential draft picks, Nnamdi Asomugha. That's a good one. Nnamdi Asomugha, who was a great Raider. I wish he played on better Raider teams. He's a hell of a player. Made a lot of money. Made a lot of money when he left the Raiders to go to Philadelphia. But we'll go through Nnamdi and why Al Davis selected him and the memories we have of Nnamdi Asomugha. I talked to Fred Biletnikoff today. I heard Phil Villapiano on our morning show. I had a chance to talk to Rob Leonard, our defensive line coach, and we had a nice quick conversation, and everything's good. I'm really excited to be out there in Henderson for practice, and if you were out there, that's what I also would like to add to the show is if you were at practice, call me. If you were at practice, because there's an opportunity for hundreds upon hundreds of people to be there, and I know many listen to the show on our channel, so if you go out to practice, we'd like to hear from you as we open up the show brought to you by Golden Entertainment as they own the Strat. I keep reminding people to get to the Strat, to stay there for their beautiful revamped hotel rooms, to their PTs in the lobby, to their great William Hill Sportsbook and everything they do there. So Golden Entertainment, they own PTs and they own the Strat. And that's our most iconic feature on the Strip is the former Stratosphere. And I'm excited about that. We're going to be doing some things coming up here during football season. So let me get going today. When I woke up this morning, and I told Bobby this story, which is interesting. I don't share enough about my personal life because I have a clock in my head. You want to hear sports. I tell you if I go to a concert's great. I tell you if I go on a road trip, my road trips are always great. I like to do that. So yesterday, I had 3 doubles this week where I did this show, then I do this night show that I do for Mad Dog. So in between shows, I got in the pool. And I was in the pool, and I was just hanging out in the pool, and I was talking to my son who wasn't in the pool. And Bobby, I got stung by a bee on the neck. And it was like one of those, wait a second, something's on my neck, no big deal. And then whack. And that's the second time I got stung by a bee this summer. Never been stung by a bee in my life, ever. Growing up playing Little League, everything I did, swimming growing up, outdoors, got hit twice this summer. So my wife's out of town with her sister, and I'm telling her, and she goes, you got to take the Benadryl quick, the Benadryl, because she had some Benadryl around. I couldn't find it. I'm like, I'm okay. No, 4 in the morning, I wake up, 4 in the morning, and I reach behind my, I'm watching on the YouTube, I reach behind the back of my neck, and it's like the movie Elephant Man. There is a giant ball the size between a golf ball, a golf ball size. It's big. This morning at 4 in the morning, it was bigger. So then I popped the Benadryl because I found it. And then I was a little loosey-goosey this morning driving, and I'm like, man, so I need a remedy in the chat on what you do with a bee sting. I got the needle out. It was a big, it was a bumblebee. It wasn't a yellow jacket. I pulled the thing out, and I said, man, this sucks. And that's it. So if you have a remedy in the chat on how to handle a bee sting in less than 24 hours, because, there was a famous polo player who just died. He swallowed the bee and died. He was allergic to it. So I think I'm out of the woods yet, but I wanted to bring that up because it was interesting. So I got up to practice today. Had a good time out there. Mark Davis is there. Mark Davis is working the room with all the fans that are there. Max is great. He's always giving me a fist bump when he sees me, so love Max. And then I saw the starters go up. The ones go up against the ones. Remember yesterday I told you that it was a huge day. I thought Aiden O'Connell played great. Gino looked good today. There are a couple. What happens in practice, there's a couple of good balls. There's a couple of bad balls. That's what happens. I saw Tyree Wilson do a stunt pass rush where he got to the quarterback. It would have been a sack in the game. They threw it away. It would have been a sack. Watched a lot of the young secondary. Wanted to see Darian Porter, Christopher Smith II. Want to watch how they're mixing and matching players. Jamal Adams was working out in the beginning of the day with the linebackers and drills. He might be a linebacker. I mean, he plays like a linebacker. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Because can he start? Yeah, he can start, but he's going to have to prove that he can play. He has not been a good player in this league for a while, but he has enormous talent. He's only 29 years old, but he gets hurt a lot. So he's a Pete Carroll guy, so maybe he will make it through all of this and start. Isaiah Palomal looks good to me, his size. I mean, they're not in pads today. And as Pete Carroll said yesterday, a couple of days ago when he kicked off camp, this is a long tall, fast secondary. So what does that mean? What are they supposed to do? Well, what they're supposed to do is put their arms up and deflect the football. You know, Chris in West Oakland goes nuts because the secondary never gets interceptions. Chris has been calling me for 20 years. We don't intercept the ball. He's been right. Chris goes nuts when we don't get an interception. Like Trayvon Merrick played, 4 years here? He barely gets any interceptions. Why? The safeties catch balls thrown at him. We don't for whatever reason. We might not have to intercept all these balls. Hopefully we do. We got guys who are so tall, they're going to knock it down. I mentioned Tyree Wilson. If he doesn't get to the quarterback, knock it down. Put your hands up. And we're going to get a really good interior push. The interior defensive line looks good. Jordan Meredith at center today. A lot of people tweeted that out. You know, there's a whole bunch of people to follow. But the guys who really focus, and you should follow them, Deshaun Reed, Vinny Bonsignore. Vinny's doing radio, so he's double dipping. But Deshaun Reed's been very good at practice because he's out there just watching practice aggressively for the Athletic and putting it out there. So I'm going to read some of Deshaun, what he said today. Jordan Meredith getting a lot of reps at center today for the Raiders. JPJ at practice, but Meredith is getting more work today. Jamal Adams is working with the Raiders linebackers during individual drills. I saw that and mentioned that. So he went through a couple of things that we saw, and he said Thayer Mumford, the tackle's back at practice. So the only player out is defensive tackle Christian Wilkins. So that's good news. And we tend to think Christian Wilkins is coming along for a number of reasons there. I watched some of the older linebackers play today. I have the roster here. And again, I like having older linebackers because they're smarter. They might not be as good as they were, but they know where to line up and make plays. I'm going to dive into that with a couple of guests when we talk to coaches coming up here. You know, you have an older linebacker. If the older linebackers still got some juice left, because Tommy Eichenberg is young and they're mixing in some new linebackers here, the older linebackers, you know where to line them up. And Patrick Graham and Pete Carroll are really good at lining up defensive players. So I think maybe the age, I don't like the age. I don't like the youth of the cornerbacks, and I don't like the overage, the elderly linebackers in theory. But I believe that there's a method to the madness, that if they line up these older linebackers, Devin White, Landon Roberts, they line them up in the right spot, they'll do their job. The young secondary, look, I'm just telling you the conversation I had today off the record. But the young secondary, if we start off week one, we got Drake May week one, Justin Herbert week two. Those guys, as of today, if they see Darian Porter and Jacorian Bennett as the two corners, they are going to attack the hell out of them until they prove those guys can make plays. We all understand that, right? Pete Carroll is going to get those guys up to speed, because if he's got to play two really young corners, really young, you know the other team's offensive coordinator. The other team's offensive coordinator is not going to say, you know, he's got to worry about Max. He's got to worry about our defensive line, Raider Nation, that's really good. And, you know, they'll understand who the personnel is. But if I was sitting in a meeting and I was going up against the Raiders and I was running the meeting, I would run the meeting on the day that the Raider prep goes in and says, they got two young kids playing corner. We're going to attack those kids, and we're going to attack them all day long. That's got to be the game plan as of today. What's it going to be? We're going to run the ball against the Raiders? No, the game plan is going to be throw and attack the young corners. That's why I believe that they might bring in an older corner, an experienced corner to come in. They do have some depth and experience at the cornerback situation, but I think they're going to be good there because Pete Carroll knows how to coach that position really well. So that's what we're doing. We're talking about everything we see. We're putting on people who are there, who see it, and might be seeing it better than me. So with everything that we're doing, all we're looking to do is tell training camp stories here and talk about an alumni every day who was drafted by the team. Today is Nnamdi Asomugha. If you have a Nnamdi Asomugha story from Cal, how he came to the Raiders, you know, he was supposed to be a great Raider, elite. I think he was a really good Raider. He's not a top 10 draft pick of all time, but clearly worthy of a conversation here. And one of the nicest guys I've ever met. He married a movie star, TV star. He does a lot of cool things, Nnamdi, in the community. He's one of the greatest activists we've had in Raider history. So I think it's his day today. So let's get into Nnamdi a little bit later on. So when I woke up this morning off the bee sting and tried to go back to bed, the first thing I saw was all hell break loose on the internet because it looked like Justin Fields initially blew out his Achilles. He was carted off the field at Jets camp. It turns out he has a dislocated toe, which could be a big deal if you're a quarterback. A dislocated toe is a really big deal. I've known some players who had turf toe. George Atkinson, the Raider legend, told me one of the worst injuries he's ever had was a recurring turf toe. And it reportedly, so when it went out there on the internet, and you just go to Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, those are the two guys, and Jay Glazer, a friend of the show, that get it right. But it looked pretty serious because people were speculating that Justin Fields blew out his Achilles. And remember, Aaron Rodgers blew it out 2 years before. If that would have happened today, I mean, that would have been the worst story I think we've ever covered because of Aaron Rodgers' Achilles. Not that Justin Fields' Achilles wouldn't have been big, but to have two Jet quarterbacks back-to-back with that. But Fields is expected to be ready for week 1 against the Steelers, but carted off the field, and he has a dislocated right toe. So it's not a fracture. It's a dislocation. Aaron Glenn, speaking after practice, declined to speculate on the severity of the injury. But, man, it seemed really serious. I don't want to make light of it, but having a dislocated toe is nothing compared to having a torn Achilles. So I think for everybody, ESPN, Rich Sinimi reported the downside to Fields' injury is that he'll miss training camp reps. Invaluable for him because he hasn't played with this team. But I think this is good news overall. I think they're going to be in a pretty good spot. Justin Fields is a good player. And the journeyman, Tyrod Taylor. Can you imagine if the Jets lost their quarterback today and they had to announce that Tyrod Taylor's the quarterback for the year? Sell all your tickets. Yep. And Tyrod Taylor isn't bad. But come on, he's not a starter here. And then what would have happened? I would have made this prediction today. I would have guaranteed you with my life savings, not my life, Derek Carr would have been the quarterback of the Jets. I said that to myself. As soon as this happened, the first thing that hit me was Derek Carr. I said, this would be perfect for Derek Carr. Derek, go to New York, number 2 media market. Derek leads the team. They're a pretty good team because Derek's sitting out there. I don't think he's going to stay retired forever. He's too good. Derek's better than Justin Fields already. So, that's not something to put in the back of your mind. I don't think it's going to happen here. But if it was an Achilles, that's how some of these quarterbacks get jobs, who hold out. They wait, and then they get a job. I had someone who texted me saying, if that happened too, do you think they would call the Raiders for Aiden O'Connell to be the starter there? And I said, I don't think so. But you never know. I raved yesterday about Aiden at practice. I got a bunch of views on that. My son loves to count the views. He said, Dad, you got a lot of views on the Aiden O'Connell video. I said, the video wasn't about Aiden O'Connell. The video was Aiden O'Connell looked really good, in my opinion, yesterday. Geno throws a beautiful ball, and so does Aiden, if they have time. The toughest thing that I struggle with, this is my 28th year of going to camp, and when they're not playing in pads and they're not stopping the play and they're protecting the quarterback, you don't know if it's a good throw, but the throw never would have happened because the guy would have got sacked. So a lot of people who've been doing this a long time try to figure out, would that play have been called dead? When the ball came out and there was a good catch by Brock, Brock made a great toe touch catch on the sideline, but the way I saw it was the play would have got blown up because someone came around the edge. I think it was Kuntz, it wasn't Max, and I think they would have got to the quarterback. So we keep an eye on all that at practice. We have Levi Edwards, who's really good. Levi's really good too. He's another guy. He doesn't really talk to anybody at practice. He watches practice. And we want to have those people here on the air and talk to them. So the Dolphins lost a cornerback yesterday with a torn ACL. And the other trending story is that Caleb Williams got yelled at by his coach in practice, and Ben Johnson. Well, Caleb Williams, I don't think he's worried about that. He's painting his fingernails different colors every day. I don't think he's going to cry when the coach yells at him. But everybody in Chicago is going nuts about that story today. Everybody's going crazy. Hulk Hogan died. And Bobby and I were talking before the show because Bobby has a big background in wrestling, as a wrestling fan his whole life. And you compared Hulk Hogan to one of the all-time greats, not only as a wrestler, but as an iconic figure of the 80s. Please explain.
Well, as I was telling you earlier, if you had a Mount Rushmore of the pop culture icons of the 80s, who would you have? Madonna,
Michael Jackson,
Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
And probably Ronald Reagan.
Very interesting you said that. It really hit home with me. You're right. He had a cartoon. He
did movies.
Yeah, he did everything.
And the thing to remember about Hogan, like I said before, early 80s, you had Superfly. He was the big name. But he could only take Vince McMahon so far. McMahon wanted to go nationwide. When he hooked up with Hulk Hogan, he had the blonde hair, he had the muscles, the leg drop, all that. It gave him the gravitas to be able to take the whole thing nationwide. Next thing you know, he Saturday night main event on NBC.
Yeah.
Wrestling on a major network. That didn't happen before. He did movies. He did a cartoon series.
Yeah, he was huge. No doubt about it. His reality show was big when it came out.
Yeah.
But no doubt about it that Hulk Hogan had an impact in your life if you're a wrestling fan.
You kind of had to. I mean,
I'm
no Hogan fan, I will tell you, but God's honest truth, he's got to be number one on the list.
Yeah, and wrestling's interesting to me. I'm not a wrestling guy. I don't knock it. It's not my thing, but I understand how you could have been a fan of Stone Cold or a fan of a different wrestler at the time, Macho Man and not Hulk. But anybody who's ever supported wrestling, entertainment and sports knows that.
Absolutely.
You also said if it was a Mount Rushmore of wrestling, Hogan would be on it at number one?
He'd have to be.
Wow,
and I'm, like I said, I'm no Hogan fan, but you cannot deny that this guy took wrestling from being a local promotion thing to nationwide.
All right.
That was him.
I will take calls on Hulk Hogan today because a lot of people are suffering this week. Malcolm Jamal Warner passed away from the Cosby Show. Millions of people watched him weekly. Ozzy Osbourne passed away, which is big. Chuck Mangione today passed away. And he's got some great songs out there, so hopefully we can move on. And that's that South Park story, not for this, for a podcast. I don't watch South Park, but everybody was telling me to watch it. I watched that.
Did you really?
Wow. Well, what the brains behind that, but we'll save that for a podcast there. So that's what we're doing today. Nnamdi is our featured alumni. We want to take your call, 702-365-9200. Oh, and America's favorite sports gambler, Bill Krackomberger, is going to join us next hour. He did a video on the top 5 steakhouses in Vegas. And I like to do that because Vegas is getting its ass kicked now. Yeah. Everybody is ripping on Vegas for gouging. I'm one of them. Not being affordable. What's going on with Vegas? All the $17 bottled water. How stupid do you have to be to buy a $17 bottle of water? You got to be an idiot to buy a bottle of water for $17. I don't care how rich you are. You got to be stupid to say that money means nothing to you to do that. And Crack had a good video about the steakhouses. I like a good steakhouse. I agreed with some of his list. I wanted to add that. And there's a movie coming out on legendary degenerate gambler, Vinny Favorito, who was a legend in Vegas, a complete degenerate, stole money from a lot of people, but was a really unique comedian. And one of my good friends, former caller to this show, made the movie, Brian Burkhart. And I was supposed to go to the movie premiere on Monday, but we can't. We're getting ready to go to Canton. So Crack's in the movie, and he's going to talk about that. If you live in Vegas, this is going to be a really good movie. I think you'll like that. So we got a bunch of different ways to go, but we want to cover off on the Raiders, the rest of the NFL news as we keep going here as we open up the show. Let's start off with Raider Day in the town, Oaktown.
Hey, what's up, Brick, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing good, D. I wanted to share with you quick. Chris in West Oakland sent me a mass card for Raider Mort. Raider Mort, he went to the service and sent me a card that my wife and I really appreciated. So I put it in my library with my Raider Mort stuff. And we're still struggling that Raider Mort's gone, and I know you're struggling too.
Oh, yeah, because I was there with Chris. We were there together, and like I said, they put him away, but it was way before his time. We're going to make sure that we keep Mort in our memories throughout this season. And I miss his take and his opinion on what's going on with the Raiders now, which is what I wanted to get into, JT. You know, as a fan now, being away from it, you know, I look at it as how did we improve in the off season?
Mhm.
You know, did we improve at the highest level with the GM spy tech?
Mhm.
I have friends that's coaches on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers staff. Hey, they told me that was definitely an upgrade for the Raiders. You look at head coach and you compare resumes, we've improved at the head coach.
Mhm.
We've improved at the offensive coordinator. And we've improved, you know, on down the line. So I'm just looking forward to see what happens on Sundays, because everybody is a Super Bowl contender in the off season,
Mhm.
in the preseason, and training camp, which is just really for the coaches to evaluate these guys and see where they are in their development. So, but I'm liking what I see. I think we've really improved, and then keeping Graham keeps that, you know, stability on the defensive side of the
Yes.
ball. Pete Carroll, him being his specialty being defensive backs
Mhm.
and safeties, man, I think, you know, he's going to keep his eye. He's going to have his touch. He's known for developing great secondaries. So I think we should be all right with that. But we, as fans, just don't get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
Don't start counting Super Bowl trophies, and just know that we've improved. Now we have to see how much we've caught up with the other teams in our division that already had, you know, coaches with resumes and did better than we did last year. But I think we're going to be a lot better than what we've been in the last few years. We will be competing, as Pete say, every day, just to get better, man.
Awesome. Good to hear from you, D. OG, original, old school, black hole, Raider Nation, Raider D. One of the more impactful fans that has had an impact on my life. I always tell the story, but we have a new audience, and we have a bigger audience on YouTube. When Raider D took me to the killing fields, and he showed me one of the roughest areas in the history of Oakland. And I'll never forget, he gave me the car tour when I came to Oakland, started with the Raiders, and said, "You want to know Oakland? Let me show you Oakland." I go, "Ooh, this is going to be interesting." And he drove me around the hood. And I'm talking the hood of the hoods, Oakland. And he took me to all these street corners and this and that and this and that, and stopped by a buddy's house. I remember going in his garage, looking around. And I said to myself, man, I had no idea what the hood of Oakland was like, which was pretty intense. And Big D, I remember he says, "This is the Oakland you haven't seen. You're seeing the Oakland Coliseum." And my radio show was pumping into the hood. And he told me, "Man, this is Oakland." And he took me, that's the killing fields. And I said, "Ooh, I heard about that." So I go way back with Raider D. He showed me the town, the part of the town that most people don't see. And he's been a great friend ever since. We're off and running today, and we're brought to you by Modelo. Someone just said in my chat, "Where do I get that Raider Modelo hat?" I don't know, man. I'm getting my new Modelo swag for this season coming up here. Modelo is a proud partner of our show, back with us like most of our partners are. And Modelo is the #1 beer in America. I have a bucket of Modelos on Friday. I will have a bucket of ice cold Modelos on Friday as we get going here. Practices, I think the Raiders are off Saturday. They got to practice on Sunday. It's go time. Raiders training camp is open. They would like you to attend. So figure it out. Yeah, figure it out. Go. Just get down there, because they have tremendous seating, unbelievable sight lines for you to see everything. And Max Crosby's running up and down, waving to the fans. Pete Carroll wants the fans there. I think the Raiders did a stunning job of building out the practice fields and putting up the shade in the stands and everything. It really looks good. If you're a Raider fan, make the effort and get out to Henderson. Yeah.
So far, I've got Chip Kelly. I just got the full pressure F-20.
Yeah.
That's only 6.5 if you want it.
Nice to have you with us on a Thursday afternoon, the 24th day of July, 2025. Let's talk about what's going on. As far as the
We're
weather,
going to have Brock Bowers too today if you want it.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders and Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit your 10 casinos across the valley. Go
nice to have you with us on a Thursday afternoon, the 24th day of July, 2025. As we talked about what's going on. As far as the world of sports is concerned.
A few years ago, I couldn't breathe.
All right, everybody, we've got a nice number here. 594 people here via YouTube and Twitter. That's a nice number. But we're trying to get, 600 people on Twitter. We're trying to get more people on YouTube. So if we can get more people on YouTube, so everybody on Twitter, if you can subscribe to YouTube, that would help. JT the Brick YT. And let's get going over here, get some more people in here for training camp, and get your opinion on what's happening. Yeah, Justin Fields being okay is a big deal. That would have been brutal. I can't, if Justin Fields blew out his Achilles, I can't even imagine what that would look like. Can't imagine. Sunnyside says we got to beat the Chargers in LA. The nation is 65%. SoFi Stadium can't lose to the Chargers. We do not play well at SoFi. We do not play well at SoFi, but now we have Pete Carroll and John Spytek. So you got to start from scratch. But SoFi has not been easy to us, I can tell you that. What's up, T, from the 203? Yeah, if the Jets could be in total meltdown mode. Red Hulk says the Jets would have hit up Kirk Cousins. I agree. All right. Put in the chat, who would you rather hear the press conference of, Chip Kelly or Ashton Genty? First 5 responses will have Bobby decide who we play. Chip Kelly or Ashton Genty? Who do you want to hear the press conference? Because I like playing press conferences. All right, we got a Chip Kelly in there, Bobby. Let's see what we get. We got a Genty. We got a Chip. That's 3. Let's see here.
30 seconds.
Genty and Chip. Chip wins. We'll do Chip. Chip wins. How long's Chip?
11.
All right.
This is going to be Asomugha.
Nnamdi Asomugha.
Awesome. Okay, I love it. Anyway, this is going to be him talking about his draft night. 2-parter. I'll play the other part later. He does movies now, you know.
Yeah.
There was, when I was looking through YouTube, I found a Netflix trailer for a thing he's got coming out in a month.
Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get
First one's a little long.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by Grimaldi's Pizzeria, home of the famous New York style coal-fired brick oven pizza.
I remember going into the draft and my agent said, yeah, maybe 5th round. Maybe 6th round. I think the Titans might be interested in the 4th round, possibly. First round came around. I'm with my siblings and we're in the dorm. Had a couple of friends over and we're just watching the draft, not expecting anything. I think it was right after the 30th pick, and I get a call from Al Davis saying, how would you like to be a part of the Raiders? And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like trying to figure out. We're at the end of the first round. Paul Tagliabue got up there and butchered my name.
First selection in the 2003 NFL Draft, the Oakland Raiders select Asomugha Nnamdi, cornerback, California.
Was he trying to say my name? And we couldn't really rejoice because it kind of took the steam out of it. But then my picture showed up and we went crazy. And then my dorm flooded with people that were watching the draft, and everybody just started coming in. They were like, what? You know, going crazy because I'm at Berkeley and Oakland's 5 minutes away.
Nnamdi Asomugha. How does Paul Tagliabue get that wrong? Asomugha couldn't even get his first name and second name in order. That is, without a doubt, the worst pronunciation in the history of the NFL draft, what they did to that young man, because the commissioner should have went out to the stage with the right pronunciation. That's what I do if I'm interviewing someone. We had a guest on the other day. I said, Bobby, when he's on hold, ask for his name. How do you pronounce it? And wow, what a great player he was. So Nnamdi was drafted in 2003. You just heard his story. A first-round pick, 31st overall. So I was talking to someone today about this who enjoys what we do on the show, someone from the Raiders, and said that this is classic Al Davis pick. Al Davis loved this pick because he saw him play. He saw his size, right? He would be a perfect player for Pete Carroll, 6'2", 210 pounds. And Al knew that he could do a bunch of different things that he saw in person, let alone on tape. So it was a solid pick overall. The problem is, as you know, the Raiders went to the Super Bowl, and when they came off the Super Bowl, they're picking 31st, so they get Nnamdi, and then the Raiders kind of crashed for a while after that. Nnamdi played on some really bad teams. He played with the Raiders through 2003 to 2010. Then he went to the Eagles. He got a massive contract to go to the Eagles. Well-deserved. Very good player, but I thought he was fantastic. Really good guy. One of the best people I've ever met with the Silver and Black. Just an overall gentleman. Now he's an actor. Played 11 years in the NFL. He played college football at Cal. A first-round pick, and he was considered one of the best shutdown corners in the NFL for a long time. 11-year career, voted All-Pro 4 times, including twice to the first team. That's hard to do. That makes him legit. And he was selected as a member of Fox Sports NFL All-Decade team for the 2000s, 2000 through 2009. So Nnamdi was no joke. When he came here, we had Charles Woodson. You remember the Woodson years, and then Charles going to Green Bay and what he was able to do, just fantastic. And then professionally, he married Kerry Washington, who is an actress and has had tremendous success. And I guess he's more and more into acting now. But the thing about Nnamdi, I could go on for hours reading about what he's done for charity work. And I mean, just nuts. This guy's just incredible. And on December 26, 2013, he signed a one-day contract with Oakland so he could retire a Raider. He officially announced his retirement December 27, 2013. In 2016, Pro Football Focus named Asomugha the best Oakland Raiders player of the past decade. So Nnamdi Asomugha, our featured alumni today. What could have been? What could have been? I think when you look at what he was able to do and when he came to the Raiders in 2003, the team just struggled. He had 8 interceptions in 2006 was his big year. But he only had 15 career interceptions. Remember, Eric Allen had 54, and he's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Nnamdi, one of the better athletes the Raiders ever drafted. NorCal Raider joins us. Thanks for waiting. Go ahead.
Hey, JT, how you doing?
I'm doing good, thank you.
I'm just really, I'm really, in good spirits with this offseason. Everything's quieted down. It seems like everything's just buttoned up. I still want them to address a little bit, linebacker. We have a lot of youth, but I would like some veteran additions, even when it comes to wide receiver, just to kind of push these young guys, just to really push them, because they don't really have a lot of quality. Like Jacoby's good, he's been decent, but somebody that can really show them how the game is done. Somebody just to push them a little bit, because the guys we picked up, what's his name? The guy from the Patriots. I mean, they're all kind of second strings, but I would like to see maybe, somebody like an Amari Cooper, not Amari Cooper, but somebody in that regard, just keep.
Why do you want this? Why do you want to? First off, Jacoby's very good. He's not good. He's very good. But I can understand there's not a Randy Moss available in his prime. There's not a Jerry Rice available. And it seems like the team is going in a direction of Jack Bash, Dante Thornton. They want to go and give Trey Tucker a really good opportunity to go there. But you could be right. I mean, there might be a good veteran wide receiver that is released around the league, and John Spytek could think he's a great fit. I don't think you're wrong. I think the Raiders are still wondering if there's a number one out there, but there's really no number ones. Amari Cooper didn't like playing here. He did not like playing here. I was there. His body language was not very good. If he comes back, we'll welcome him with open arms, but I don't know what to tell you. I think the Raiders are pretty good at receiver because Brock Bowers is a receiver, and Michael Mayer better get some targets this year, or what the hell's he doing on this roster if he doesn't catch the ball?
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of guys that are improving, not a lot of stats, and in the past we've always hold on to players like, hopefully they get better.
Right.
I can go back to Daryl Osbury, guys from back in the days we've hold on to for a long time. But I think we do have to make some noise. Like hopefully before training camp, pick up somebody at least a veteran receiver. Hopefully somebody gets cut.
All right, I disagree with you, but thanks for the call. That's what I want to hear. I want to hear people that disagree with me. If you want a number one receiver, that ship has sailed. There's not many number one receivers. Deebo Samuel went to the Commanders, right? You go around the league. Who's a number one receiver that's available other than a trade? George Pickens, right? The availability of him at one point. Listen, here's what everybody needs to understand, and I think I picked it up quickly. Brock Bowers needs 100 receptions every year. He can maybe get 80 and be more productive than ever. The number for a tight end is not as important as a wide receiver. But Brock's different. So when everybody says the Raiders don't have a number one wide receiver, stop everyone in their tracks, especially the Charger fans who think Ladd McConkey is a number one receiver, and tell them, no, we have a number one receiver. His name is Brock Bowers. He's our number one guy on offense. He's number one. And I can't believe I'm about to say this because I think it's true. The only person that could overtake Brock Bowers on the Raiders is Ashton Genty. There is a chance that Genty could have a brilliant rookie year. I'm talking 1,400 yards. 1,000 yards is nothing. 100 yards a game is not important to me. It's when you get from 1,500 yards to 2,000. That'd be too much to throw at Ashton Genty. He could do it, but the Raiders were dead last in rushing. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you, but Genty is the only player on this roster that I believe that could be more productive than Brock. So if you have a really productive year out of Brock Bowers, Ashton Genty, and Jacoby Myers, Raiders are fine. Let's talk about stopping people on defense and getting off the field. Chip Kelly met the media today, and I left to get back here to do the show, so I want to hear it just as much as you. If you're catching some of these interviews on the app, we're going to play them here, especially to open up camp so our audience can get an understanding of the new concept of this offense.
What's up, guys? Beautiful day.
With someone like Ashton who's so physical, how do you balance putting him to be physical but also trying to preserve him?
Yeah, I mean, Ashton has his own unique style, and I don't think we're going to ever try to coach that out of him. I think he's amazing after contact, and that's probably one of his biggest strengths. So, our job right now is just getting him lined up, having him understand what our offense is, what our scheme is, and then let him go in terms of his running style. His running style is his running style, and it's gotten him this far, so we're going to continue to ride that.
What is he in terms of pass protection is picking up understanding?
Again, it's these days right now is really part of OTA still because we still haven't had we have not had full pads on. I don't think we get to do that till practice 5. When you watched him in college, he's a tough, hard-nosed, physical, not only as a runner but in pass protection. We just haven't had a chance. Now we drill it. Thielen is as good a coach as there is in terms of getting guys ready to play, but we haven't done anything where I could say, I've seen it in myself, but I don't have any question that he can be really good in the pass pro game.
Definitely seen him being tapped into in the pass game and not just on screens, but kind of downfield.
Sure.
Obviously, that was something that you guys saw on film in college. But how pleased are you with the progress that he's shown?
He's done a great job. He's a natural catcher. He played a little bit of receiver in high school when you talk to him. I think he played some slot receiver. But he catches the ball naturally. It's a natural deal for him. All Ashton is working on right now, to be honest with you, is just our terminology and just feeling really comfortable in how we call it. He played in a pro-style offense. Dirk Cutter, former head coach in the National Football League, was his offensive coordinator at Boise the last couple of years. So, he's got a really good understanding. He's smart, excited. You're starting to – what we want to just make sure is we just don't overwhelm him with everything because obviously our playbook is a little bit more than a college playbook. And all NFL teams are the same way. So, but he's handled everything really, really well so far.
At this point in the offseason, what are you looking for from the offense?
It's not the offseason. So it's the season, and it's day 2. I think all of us and the whole coaching staff and the players will tell you too, for 2 days, they've been sharp. Really the question you always have is they left here on June 11th and they came back for July 23rd. Where were they in the interim? And you could tell that these guys worked on it, not only from a physical standpoint in terms of their conditioning and what they did coming back, but mentally they were sharp. And we've thrown a lot at them, because we came out of the spring, and when we got back here day one, they were kind of responsible for everything from the spring. So it's been a big install, and will continue to be, but it's because they can handle it. So they've been really, really sharp. They love playing, and so they're as excited. You watch their enthusiasm; it's not fake. They're excited to be out there playing football. So we're excited where they are right now, and it's really about stacking really good days on top of good days. Now we've had two. The challenge is, can we have a good walkthrough this afternoon, and can we carry that over till tomorrow?
There's a lot of expectations on the wide receiver room, and how have you seen the rookies kind of grow with this offense that encourages you about the coming season?
Yeah, and I mean, there's every wide receiver room in the league. It's a passing league, so for you to compete, you got to run the ball to win games, but you got to score. To score points, you got to throw the football, and I think we're young out there. But we have some talent, so we're only still 2 practices in, and still in that kind of OTA mentality. You're really going to be able to tell when you get to play in the first preseason game. You get to practice against the 49ers, and then get to play the Cardinals. So you're gonna find out. And even as we move the following week, a week from Saturday, we'll have a game in Allegiant, a scrimmage in Allegiant. So, but so far so good.
What has Dante Thornton shown so far in terms of what he can add to this offense?
He just has a great skill set. For someone that tall, that fast, he's got a big catch radius. He's done a really nice job, and Chris Beatty does a great job with him in terms of picking up our offense. I think he's pretty sharp. I know Gino really it's comforting to Gino to know he's got someone that fast, that tall out there, because there's a big, big body to throw to that can run and stretch a defense a little bit. So, he's been really good. But I think for all these guys, as you start to get into the second week of training camp, and then the preseason games is when you'll start to really be able to get an idea of where they are.
The guys picking up on schemes and playbook. How excited does that make you? Just like, I got guys who can absorb, retain, and execute.
It's awesome. This is such a good group to coach. Like they want to be coached. They're thirsty for knowledge. When you go into the meeting room, there's a little buzz and there's an excitement. It's not like, oh God, we're in camp. What are we doing here? It's like they're excited, and it's special when you get an opportunity to be on an NFL roster. And I think these guys are really taking advantage of it. And as a coach, it makes it a blast to come in this building every day. And I think a lot of it's from the tone that Pete has set. He's made football fun for these guys. This group loves playing football. So it's been a lot of fun.
Yesterday, Gino came out and said that you've been doing a good job of putting players in position to really make plays. Obviously, you have your scheme which you want to implement, but how much goes into really learning each player and creating schemes just for them in particular?
That's a great question, and I think there's a ton involved in that. Is being able to figure out what are the strengths and what are the weaknesses of each individual player, and then trying to put them in positions where they can make plays. The beauty of it is that the guy pulling the trigger can run everything. So if we're with Gino and say, hey, we'd like to do this, he can do it. If you want to do that part of the game, whether it be quick game, he can do it. With throwing deep ball, he can do it. Throwing the intermediate big balls, he can do that. He's got so much experience, and to have a veteran quarterback there it's such a comforting feeling. And really, Aiden, who's got experience, he's not a rookie, and in his first 2 days, he's been really, really sharp. But, 2 guys that when defenses are trying to do some things, and Pat does a great job of trying to scheme you up, show you one thing, but then give you another. And for those guys to be able to diagnose this, and they're the point guard, they're the ones that are pulling the trigger every play. But to have those guys doing it makes it really easy.
That point is about kind of figuring out what the guys around them do. In terms of a guy like Brock, how much fun do you have figuring out what you can do with him in this offense?
Well, that's part of it, and you learn every day. So, you obviously know that he can go deep. He can catch shallow routes. I learned over the summertime he can hit grand slams. So you learn more about the player every single time you're around him. So if for some reason it turns into a home run derby and we're playing anybody in the NFL, I'll take Brock. So, but he's just such a special weapon, and you ask him too. He's still learning. I think Kirby did a great job at Georgia in terms of how they used him. And I think you'll start to see. I think you can use him in a lot of different ways, and he's a special player, and so we're really excited about him.
We've seen him kind of moving around since OTAs, trying to find his role in the offense. What do you think the biggest areas of focus for him should be going into training camp?
Well, it's for all those guys. It's just really, truly understanding the offense. For a veteran, it's they're thinking about their release plan. For a rookie, they're thinking about, do I line up +2 from the hash, -1 from the hash? my route is a slant, and they haven't even recognized the defense yet. When you're an older player, that stuff's kind of second nature for them. In two different systems. He was in LSU system and did a nice job in that system, and now he's played for Sonny at TCU, and so that was a different system. So he's sharp and he's picking things up, but both him, Dante, Ashton, they're still rookies, and they still have, even though they got here right after the draft, they haven't had pads on. We still haven't gotten to that point, so we're still running around and hopefully everybody looks good in this, and they do. So that's a positive.
Chip, we've seen that they are playing a little bit of guard. Jordan was playing center today.
Yeah.
Meredith. Feels like this offensive line has some versatility and some guys that can cover a lot of different positions. How good is that depth, or what do you feel about the depth?
Pads.
Yeah.
I'll go back to that one.
Right.
A lot of guys, I've seen guys look great, and then all of a sudden you put the pads on and you're like, where did he go? Well, he's still here, but you just don't notice him as much anymore. But to have versatility, I think that's a real big deal. Jordan can play both center and guard. JPJ can play both center and guard. Thayer has played guard, can play tackle, can he swing? I think bringing in Alex Kappa was a great maneuver because it really adds a veteran that's played multiple positions. So we're going to try to sort that out. The one thing about the NFL, so much different than college, is game day. You're going to have either 7 or 8 guys up on game day. So whoever the 5 starters are, that's great. Those other 3 guys, you don't have 10. So you don't have a backup left tackle, backup right tackle, backup right guard, backup left guard, backup center. You got 3 guys, and they got to be able to go no matter who goes down. So, if you lose 2 tackles, then 2 of those backups technically got to go play tackle now. And the more versatile those other guys are, the better it's going to be for your depth, especially in game.
What have you thought of Jacoby Myers thus far? You think, he's poised to have a big season from how his training camp has gone early on and everything?
Yeah. Well, he had a big season last year.
Yeah.
The only receiver in the NFL not to drop a ball. Such a sure-handed receiver. He can play both inside and outside. Showed up a lot today. I thought he made some really, really big plays today. I know Gino has a really good comfort level with him. But I think his versatility from, similar to what we just talked about with the offensive line, his ability to play inside and outside, it really helps us. If we got 2 tight ends in the game, can he be an outside receiver? If we don't have 2 tight ends in the game, can he play and line up in a tight end position in the slot? And he can do it all. So he's a good weapon to have.
I know Brock can kind of move around to different positions. Does that just kind of give you a chance to express a lot of creativity on offense?
It does, and I think what you're looking for is matchups, and defense is the same way. A lot of people on defense have gone to more multiple dime linebackers, guys that were safeties that are playing linebacker. Jamal Adams is a guy that, I think there's a reason they brought him in here. The league is like that. It's almost a little bit, there's some positionless deals. Like, hey, they got 3 or 4 guys that he could be a tight end, he could be a receiver, he could be a receiver, he could be a running back. He could be a safety, he could be a linebacker. He could be a linebacker, he could be a defensive end. So the more versatility you have, I think it helps you and it allows you to be more creative with the schemes that you have. All right, guys, thank you.
All right, that was Chip Kelly. I thought that was very good. He got into the depth of what this team can do on offense. Jacoby Myers, really comfortable with him. Gino and Jacoby having chemistry early. Brock Bowers. And then at the end there, he gave you a little bit of a nugget on Jamal Adams on how the league is changing where you can play multiple positions. You could be a safety who plays linebacker. You can be a linebacker who plays defensive end. Jamal Adams is interesting to me because I don't know how good he can play at strong safety. I don't think he's great in coverage. He never was. He was great at getting to the quarterback and playing closer to the line of scrimmage. Isaiah Palomal can do that too. So that competition is going to be interesting. Jeremy Chin is a thumper, can come down and hit. So, do they have a guy in the secondary who can cover? Do they have a guy that we're going to see, Darian Porter, Jacorian Bennett, whoever it's going to be? I got the roster here in front of me who's just flat out a guy who can cover. That means he can go after the football, knock it down, cover someone, make up speed if he gets beat. We know they can hit. We know they're oversized, they're strong, they're taller than the average safety and corner. But can they make plays? And, Chip Kelly's getting paid a lot of money. He's getting paid head coach money. We all understand that, right? How generous Mark Davis is with these contracts. and he's paying the market rate. Chip Kelly's the highest paid offensive coordinator ever on a team that was dead last in rushing. Okay, you get that? That's a priority. He's going to get the running game going. And then if the running game gets going, the Raiders could be pretty dangerous because it's going to be easier for Jacoby Myers and Brock and Trey and all these guys to get open. Jack Best and Besh and Thornton. If everybody is so worried about Ashton Genty, I was watching with Vinny Bonsignor today, and there was a pitch play. Gino snapped it, and he pitched it out to Ashton Genty, and he turned the corner. And Vinny looked at me, and he goes, he got to the corner. I go, yeah, he did. He got to the corner. If that happens in real games, and on 2nd and 6, he's picking up first downs because he's getting around the edge, it's going to open up the passing game for Chip Kelly. How long did we go through this 3-and-out crap over the last couple of years? A lot. Handing it off, running it into the pile, punting, not throwing downfield, never throwing it past the marker. 3rd and 12 felt like 3rd and 50. Throw it past the marker and make some plays, please.
It's the morning tailgate.
All right, we got a nice break here. He's going to be 10 after. Yeah, 10 after. So we got a nice break here. Mr. Rogers, thank you. I think the Raiders will be a top 5 team in the red zone. 32 teams. Yeah, I think they'll be top 15 because of Genty and Gino and Brock. I think Gino's going to be much better in the red zone because of his completion percentage. Hunter says Thornton and Michael Mayer added in there. Yeah, well, they got to get the ball to Michael Mayer. They never get the ball to Michael Mayer. I'm confident that Chip Kelly will. I saw Zamir White today. Sunnyside said he didn't have a first step. I don't know if I'd say that. I think he's been in a tough spot. The offensive line was pretty bad last year. The team wasn't very good. They lost 10 in a row. I wouldn't blame Zamir White exclusively on that. Adams does have veteran knowledge in the secondary, Big D, but I've seen him get beat a lot. A lot of times I watched Jamal Adams play when he came up initially with the Jets, man. He could play. And then there were a lot of times he was getting beat and getting beat badly. So maybe he's improved on that. We'll see.
All work, no play makes for one boring-ass week. Kick boredom to the curb with ice-cold beer, cocktails, and the best tavern food in town. Voted best happy hour in Las Vegas, there is no better place to be than PT's Taverns. Join us for half-off happy hour 5 to 7 p.m. and 12 to 2 a.m. daily for 50% off all, and we mean all drinks, even the good With over 70 locations, there is always a PT's Tavern near you. Visit ptstaverns.com to find your neighborhood tavern today.
Stretch the field. I agree, Kenny. Got to stretch the field.
It's a long family heritage that we proudly carry on. For my father, my family, to the expert legal team, Castellucci, we founded this firm for you. We're the Castellucci brothers, and we have your back.
Brotherswin.com. We're hiring at A1 Garage Doors. No experience, no problem. We provide full training, a brand new van, top-of-the-line tools, a gas card, and steady jobs with weekly pay. This isn't just a job. It's a career with real growth, great pay, and job security. Our team members go from training to 6 figures, and we're ready to help you do the same. Don't wait. Apply now at a1garage.com/careers.
A1garage.com. A1 from day one.
All right, Bobby, hour number 2. Snow Raiders here. Raider Nation bricklayers. Nnamdi Asomugha is our alumni. I'm going to jump in on Nnamdi. Okay.
State Bend, South Carolina.
Agriculture or auto. Our team has the expertise to make sure your coverage meets your needs and at a price that fits your budget. Our award-winning team keeps track of all the important regulatory issues that impact your business. We help with safety, compliance, and inspections because that's what you should expect from a trusted business partner. Find out how to have Pro Group Management work for you. Visit our website at kgnb.com to receive a free cost-savings analysis now at kgnb.com or call our Las Vegas office at 702-740.
Yeah, I'm just really big this year, everybody, in football. Again, I don't want to do Raiders. We got other people in here, man. I want to talk football, more other teams too, but we're mostly Raiders. That you got to stretch the field. I mean, this is football. Attack. You got to attack downfield. And the Raiders got to prove that they can do that other than Trey Tucker. And I would think that's going to be Deontay Jordan out of Tennessee. In order to do that, you need to pass protect with Colt Miller and JPJ and Dylan Parham and Jordan Meredith, Alex Kappa, right? You got to get going. And the threat of Genty will make defenses play us honest, as Big D says. Yet you're right. I just think with Chip Kelly, it's going to be so elaborate on what they can do and get in and out of plays. When I get a chance to interview Chip, I want to talk about Gino's ability to look at a play, get out of it, and move into a better play. Because Chip Kelly's got a lot of plays. A lot of plays.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
Sometimes life throws you a curveball, and you'll need the assistance of an outstanding criminal attorney.
Yep.
At the Vegas Lawyers. I'm Tony Abatangelo. Whether it's representation for a DUI, domestic violence, records hearing, or any other criminal defense issue, we will walk you through all the legal complexities. Don't get left on base. Call the Vegas Lawyers.
The Vegas Lawyers, a division of Paul Pata Law. Don't go it alone. Go to thevegaslawyers.com.
Upgrade your
Yeah.
experience during Dell Technologies Back to School event with AI PCs like the Dell 14 Plus featuring an Intel Core Ultra processor starting.
Guy just asked me, there's a lot of articles about Vegas being down in the economy. A buddy of mine sent me a link that said Las Vegas hotel occupancy dropped 15% in June and another 17% in July, the steepest decline among the top 25 U.S. tourism markets. It's real interesting. I mean, look, Vegas is down for a couple of reasons. First off, Canada hates us. Canada's not coming. Canada is deeply offended, and they have a lot of people that come to Vegas. It's a short trip. Anywhere in Canada, you can get to Vegas reasonably quick. They're not coming. That's a lot of rooms. And then the Chinese aren't coming. You think the Chinese like us much now? The Chinese go to Macau and they go to the Chinese love coming, and the Far East love coming to Vegas. And we got to lower some prices, man. There's so many high-end luxury. There's so many luxury casinos in Vegas. Wynn, Encore, Resorts World, Fontainebleau. They're so expensive that people look and say they can't afford Vegas, and you're wrong. You could stay at the Strat and Virgin and Mandalay Bay and get a nice room, a really nice room. You don't have to stay in a room that's $700 a night. But some of these other casinos, the prices have to come down. And yeah, Canadians are staying at home. I think the Canada portion of it is really bad. I'm waiting on Crack, because if Crack can go earlier, we'll move Levi back. I'm just waiting. I've always made good money living in Vegas because I've always worked my ass off. And Vegas was always a cheap place to live. It was a really cheap place to live. The problem now is that it's really expensive even for locals to go out on the Strip.
The problem is that we've become a suburb of Los Angeles.
Yeah, a lot of people moving here with a lot of money, and they're driving prices up too. Mandalay Bay is now not the W. The Delano is the W. The Mandalay Bay is still the Mandalay Bay. Yeah.
All right. So as far as I know, it's Levi at 110.
Yeah.
Weekday mornings from 7 to 10 on Radio
And we got
Nation
Ashton
Radio
Genty. Check the call.
KRLA Las Vegas.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show, brought to you by the Black Hole. Become a member of football's most notorious fans.
It's the JT the Brick Show, broadcasting live from the Finley Cadillac Performance Studio, your silver and black home to sound off for over 25 years. And now, here's JT the Brick.
All right, we're back. Hour number 2 of the show, brought to you by Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. As Bobby knows, he runs the show One Love. Yesterday when I was on the air from 7 to 10 p.m., my son said, "Dad, what do you want to eat?" And I said, "I'm busy." They texted me. You have kids now that text you in the house? You have that? Anybody have? Raise your hand if your kids text you while they're in the house. And they said, "Dad, we're going to get food. What do you want?" And I just didn't even look at it. I was on the air. They came in with 2 bags of Raisin Canes. They are animals. They love Raisin Canes, the crinkle cut fries, the buttery Texas toast, the best chicken fingers out there. So we had Canes last night as my wife's out of town with her sister in Chicago, seeing their family, and we had a boys' night at the house with Raisin Canes. So it was fantastic. Raisin Canes, proud partner of our show. They've been with me for a while. Their stores are fantastic all throughout the valley here as we get going. We got a good hour lined up, good conversation. Levi Edwards, who I was at practice with today from the digital team, and Bill Krackomberger, waiting to hear back from America's favorite sports gambler. And he's got a couple of good stories. He's such a good storyteller, probably the best. Out of all the people that I have on as guests as a storyteller, I put him right up there with Phil Villapiano. Fu was on the morning show today. And quick, funny story, Vince Sapienza told me that he had him on, and Phil said something funny about a stripper at training camp that he paid $100 to run on the field. I said, "That's Phil." Yeah. And, with Phil, when you get Phil on, you're going to get some good stories. So it was great to hear him on the morning show today. Nice setup they have out there for the morning show. It's a lot easier for them to be able to do the show from practice and not have to commute back to the studio here. So I think we've been hearing some great radio with those guys. And then Q coming up next. You know what you get from Q. Snake Man in South Carolina. Thanks for waiting. You're up next. Go ahead.
What's up, JT? Yeah, that Stu story this morning about the stripper had me in tears. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to talk about the secondary real quick. You brought up something that I've been saying for months now about the length of this secondary and disrupting the throwing windows, shrinking them. Those tip passes might just lead to some interceptions. But a guy like Porter, assuming that, the Pete Carroll and staff think that he can get out there and start early in the season, it's obvious that defensive coordinator or offensive coordinators are going to go after him and target him. That said, I'd like to know if someone answer this question. Maybe if you get somebody on, like one of the maybe the next. I don't know. Maybe I'll ask Vinny tomorrow. But if they're targeting a guy like Porter and a guy like Patrick Graham, our defensive coordinator knows that. Wouldn't that maybe kind of make that an interesting chess game? In other words, hey, I know you're going to attack this guy, but we're going to try to trick you into thinking that, he's going to be victimized on this play. Maybe we can kind of, what I'm getting at is potentially Porter can have a really significant year if they do target him because he has excellent ball skills. Just thoughts on that with the chess game within the chess game.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, I agree with what you said. Thanks for the call. The problem with Porter is he's never played an NFL game, and he's a converted wide receiver. So as much confidence as I have and you have with him, he's never played an NFL game. He's going to go up against NFL wide receivers, not guys from Iowa State. I mean, he's going to be going up against really big-time players, and he's a rookie. I'm not going to be very confident with him there, but he could blow us away. That's what Pete Carroll wants to do. He wants to develop guys who can play. I talked to Kirk Morrison about this. He was at practice again today. The ability to have a head coach here in Pete Carroll who will play freshmen in college and play rookies in the pros. If Pete Carroll has to go in front of the media, and I'm a member of the media, but I'm more of a talk show host. I'm not a journalist. If he has to go in front of NFL media on the opening day in New England and the home opener against the Chargers with Jacorian Bennett and Darian Porter starting at corner, wow. Okay, those guys better be ready to go. They're going to get picked on. they're going to go at him. And Max is going to make it easier on these young guys in the secondary to make plays because Max has got to get to the quarterback. I mean, imagine being a rookie like Darian Porter going up against Justin Herbert. I've said this for our new audience. I'll say it again. I've been covering football for well over 50 years as a fan, but 30 years in the NFL. The best I've ever seen, number one, and I saw Montana, I saw Elway, I saw Marino live, and Brady. I've seen Brady constantly live, and Peyton Manning live. The best arm I've ever seen live was Justin Herbert at Allegiant Stadium. The first 2 times he came there. I sit in my seats. I told the story. My season tickets are on the 29-yard line in the lower bowl, and he faded back from the 22-yard line to the 29, right in front of me. And he threw a touchdown in the back of the end zone. There were 2 defenders inches away from the receiver. They couldn't get their hands up to knock the ball down, and they were right on it. And I said to myself, I've never seen anything like that. So Justin Herbert doesn't win a lot. I get that. John Elway was the same thing in the beginning. He was a great player. He couldn't win the Super Bowl. Herbert is elite arm talent, period. You might hate his guts. Go ahead. I'm not here to tell you who to like or not. I know who you don't like. I have never seen an arm like Justin Herbert. So if he's going up against a second-year player and a rookie, get ready. Because he's going to come out with Jim Harbaugh, and they are going to attack our secondary for the home opener. And if our guys are ready to go and the safeties over the top are playing a little more conservative over the top, maybe giving more room, and it's kind of a double team on one side. Because remember, the Chargers don't have great receivers. You should be able to cover Ladd McConkey and whatever else they have there. You're not covering Rice and Moss in their prime. But it's, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs in week 1. Really good player. And Drake May, who's good, going up against our young corners. They're going to be tested. So I don't know what to tell you. I'm okay with whoever Pete puts out there and Patrick Graham. They're going to be completely prepared and ready to go. They're going to be ready to go. But that's how I see it here. And look, Levi Edwards is going to join us coming up in a minute. A big topic for us is in the preseason. You've got to play Jacorian Bennett and Darian Porter in the preseason. You don't have to play Max. He doesn't have to play a play. Christian Wilkins isn't going to make it to the preseason playing games. I don't know what you want to do with Malcolm Kuntz. I would get him some reps. But our corners have to get valuable reps. DeCamerion Richardson, who I saw out there today, big body, looks good. Really does look good. But is he good enough to play in this league? He hasn't proven it yet. He's good enough to play on the Raiders. Would he be good enough to play for the Eagles? No. So we got guys like that have to be able to play at a high level. I want to see corners on this team, and I think Pete Carroll's doing this, especially John Spytek. I want to see cornerbacks who are here because they're going to be Pro Bowlers. We've drafted too many guys who are not even good enough to stay in the league at the cornerback position. I got a list, a graveyard of people that we've drafted at corner and defensive tackle. The graveyard's bigger at defensive tackle than corner that aren't even in the league. So, we got to develop these guys. Levi Edwards joins us from the digital team. I spent time with you today out at practice, and I was saying before you came on, you really study practice and who's in and who's not. What'd you see earlier today?
I noticed a lot of combinations of things on both the offensive and defensive line. That was something that really struck out to me, just in the sense of you have your guys who you're like, oh yeah, no, these are definitely going to be the starters, and you kind of get used to seeing those guys in OTAs. Then during training camp, you start seeing, okay, well, who's first team and who's second team, and it's really hard to tell because you have guys like Jordan Meredith who's getting first team reps at center, and then you have guys like Bayer Munford who's your swing tackle getting some first team reps at guard. And then you kind of have the same thing going on the defensive side of the ball, where you have Tyreek kind of like rotating between, like, is he interior? Is he is he an edge rusher? You have that mixture, that sweet spot within those two tackle positions with, Zach Carter getting some reps, and you have Tonka getting some reps, and you have Jonah getting some reps. You have Adam Butler, who obviously has started, every game last year. He's getting reps. Malcolm, he's still doing his thing on the outside, but also rotating in with some guys like Tyree, who I said is also getting reps interior. So you have a lot of people in a lot of places still trying to figure out what they're going to do. So that's kind of something that I've noticed. And obviously, they're not in pads yet. That doesn't happen until next week. So really, it's just about getting these guys on the field, no matter who they're alongside, making sure they're getting chemistry and they know what they're doing. So I think, obviously, you want to see who's going to be your starters, but I think right now it's kind of a free-for-all. Everybody just competing to see where they fit in.
Levi Edwards is our guest. So Jamal Adams gets signed. And the only thing I find interesting about that, when he gets signed, someone gets cut. And that's what's hard about this. And I don't think a lot of our listeners, I think they understand it, but we know it a little bit more in real time because especially you get to know these guys. You bring in someone and you want to try him out to be a box safety or play up near the line of scrimmage. A young man who's a wide receiver gets cut and his dream's over for the short amount of time. They brought Adams in for a reason. What is that reason? What is that need fit for him if he ends up making the team, which I think he should at 29, but does he start or is he a depth piece?
That's a great question because like I was just saying with mixing guys in and having that rotation, really, when I looked at Jamal Adams, he was getting first-team reps, but he also was used in so many different ways on the field where, not trying to give state secrets, but the Raiders rolling out some three safety formations where you have him, you have Palomau, and you have Chin out there, or there's sometimes where you have Lonnie Johnson out there, or there's times where you have Trey Taylor out there. So they're all kind of like flipping between 2-3 safety formations. And Jamal Adams was a guy, obviously, the Pete Carroll is putting him in an advantageous situation because we know what he can do. We've seen the tape, we've seen the film. He is a really good box safety. He broke the single season record for most sacks by a defensive back. So we know he's going to blitz and he's going to run downhill, and that's what they had him doing today. It was almost as if he wasn't even a safety today. He was pretty much kind of like a third or fourth linebacker on the field, depending on kind of like what set they were in, whether it was like a 3-4 or 4-2-5 or 4-3. When he was out on the field, he lined up in the box. I didn't really see him out back, in the backfield really too much. But honestly, that's where he needs to be. That's where he succeeds, and I think that's kind of the intention of what they see for him. And so, obviously, like you're saying, there's a player whose dreams are not necessarily, done forever, but their dreams are delayed just by a little bit. And for you to do that and kind of take a shot on a veteran player like him, it means that you have a lot of faith in what he could potentially do on this team. And he's a guy that's been around Pete for about 3-4 years in Seattle. So they have that type of relationship, and Pete kind of knows what he's going to get out of Jamal Adams and what he's going to bring to a locker room. So I think it's an extremely high risk, high reward situation. And I would say that it's definitely worthy of the risk that you're taking, bringing him in, considering the amount of success that he previously had in his career. Pre-injuries.
Levi Edwards joins us. So before you came on, I'm talking about the depth of the corner position. I mean, we're not here to set the roster. They'll tell us what the roster will be. But if Jacorian Bennett and Darian Porter are out there together, those are two young guys. Two young guys are going to be tested early against Drake May, Justin Herbert, Jaden Daniels in week 3. And Pete Carroll is going to have to give them a lot of reps. These young corners have got to get reps, big-time reps in practice, and especially, I would assume, in the preseason and the dual workout against the 49ers.
Yeah, what I really do like about those two corners that you just mentioned is the fact that physically there's nothing that they can do. They're both 4'3" guys coming out of the NFL draft, both physically imposing. Obviously, Bennett, he's a little shorter, but real stocky, real, kind of muscle guy he's not going to miss too many tackles. Let me tell you that. He's very physical at the line of scrimmage, which I know Pete Carroll likes. And then Darian Porter, really long cornerback, really fast, very athletic. So I think shoulders down, they can do everything that you would want out of a cornerback who's starting in the NFL. So what's really going to come down to is what they can obtain above the shoulders. Mentally, obviously, cornerback is one of the toughest, if not the toughest position to play in football, in my opinion, outside of quarterback. So really, they're just going to have to get those reps in, and they're going to have to know what they're doing. They're going to have to know what they're doing and know where they have to be at all times, and really just have that mental fortitude to be able to lock down and be on the same page with the rest of the defense. But something that I like is the fact that we have 3 to 4 veteran linebackers right now on this team that are doing a great job communicating and making sure that the whole 11 on the defense are on the front, are on the same page.
I like that. I want you to stay on that. Excuse
really
me.
like.
Yeah, excuse me for interrupting, but I want you to stay on that because I only like veteran linebackers if they're in a rotation. Because if you got 3 guys that are old out there, eventually they're going to get run off the field. And we got a couple of guys who are a little bit older but have had some really good years. If you mix them in with Eichenberg and some of the other linebackers that are younger in some type of different look, I'm good with that because I don't think the older linebackers have proven in football, not just the Raiders, that you can leave them out there for a 17-game season. So you mentioned the 4. Dive into that a little bit deeply, along with Jamal Adams, who was working out with the linebackers today in individual drills, and what type of rotation that could look like.
Well, with Jamal Adams, obviously, like I was saying, they want him to be that box safety. So I don't necessarily see him being like listed as a linebacker, like this a position change. I'm not saying that, but that's essentially the role that they want him to play. They want him to be that 4th linebacker at safety, a guy that, you know, is fast enough. If he needs to get in the backfield, he can, but it's really just going to take away the run game and just run downhill. That's what they want him to do. That's what he's best at. But as for those other linebackers, you have some winners in that room. Let me just start off with that. You have 3 guys who have been in a Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl. Landon Roberts, Devin White, and Jermaine Pratt, who they just signed right before training camp started. So you have winners, and these guys, they know what they're doing, and they're going to set the tone. They want to be physical, and like I was saying, they communicate. They're always making sure they have the play in, and they talk. You can visit, you can hear them on the field at all times. And that's what I really like out of my linebacker, someone who's communicating, making sure everybody's in the right place. And that's what they do. And like what you were saying with having those veteran linebackers when you have it in a rotation, it's definitely a lot better because you don't want to have kind of like those older guys out there for too long. You want to kind of like, you know, spread the wealth. Something that I very much noticed today was how much Tommy Eichenberg played. That was a guy that you just named, of kind of mixing him in. And I saw him get a lot of reps today, and I thought he looked really good last year in training camp. And I think this year he has all the potential to take like a really big leap to be in that rotation as a Mike linebacker. So I really like him a lot. I've liked him since he was at Ohio State. Really no nonsense kind of player. And when you have those guys in the locker room, those veterans I was telling you about, all of their tricks and their mentality, that's going to seep into those younger linebackers like Eichenberg. So you're really just doing everybody a service at that point.
Wrapping it up with Levi Edwards, the death of Hulk Hogan resonated through practice today. Depending on what age bracket the players are in yours. I know you like wrestling. You went to WrestleMania. What was the impact that Hulk Hogan had on your life?
I'm going to be honest with you. Me personally, I was not necessarily a big Hulk Hogan fan. He was a little before my time of getting into wrestling and watching it. And, you know, he definitely is the kind of guy who comes with a lot of controversy as well. You know, just kind of like looking at, you know, his relationships with people within the wrestling business and just a lot of things that came with him. But at the end of the day, I was telling one of my coworkers, Marcus Padilla, he's a director of broadcast, and you know him well. He's a huge wrestling fan. And something that I told Marcus is, no matter what you feel about Hulk Hogan or what you know about Hulk Hogan, at the end of the day, he's the Elvis Presley of professional wrestling. He's a guy that came with a lot of controversy. There's a lot of opinions about him. A lot of people that think, oh, he's great, or he's not as good as people thought he was. But at the end of the day, he revolutionized, you know, professional wrestling the way that Elvis Presley revolutionized rock and roll. And so no matter what you think about them, they have their place in history, and we're not the same in the sense of we're not where we are within these fields if it wasn't for these people who had their place in their time. So I think that's the best way to put Hulk Hogan. Definitely the Elvis Presley of professional wrestling. No matter what you think about him, he has his place in history, and we're not putting 65,000 in Allegiant Stadium 2 nights straight, 2 years straight, if Hulk Hogan doesn't do his thing in the 80s.
Wow.
And that's just fact.
Nicely said. I'm leaving you on the most important question now. I try to get out there every day, but some days I can't be out there, and you're there every day. Your camp drip is really important. I got nice gear, right? So they give me some nice polos, and I can mix it up a little bit, but you got to mix it up daily. You're getting recognized. I was with you today. They didn't come up to me. They came up to you. Say, hey, I follow you. I saw that. And your drip's important. So what are you doing with your T-shirt drip throughout training camp as you mix and match your outfits every day?
So I guess I'm getting old, JT, because I used to care so much more about it, and now I'm just kind of like at the point where obviously I'm going to wear the team issue drip that they gave me, as long as it's clean, as long as it's out of the washing machine. Like, I'm just going to put that on. I think for me the big thing, as you know, JT, is I'm a huge sneakerhead. So you probably will not see me wear the same pair of shoes for at least another 4 weeks.
Wow.
It's probably going to be something different every day, because that's kind of where my imagination goes of like, okay, well, I'm with the team. I'm going to wear my standard Raiders T-shirt. I might, pull out a little vintage Raiders shirt here and there, a little bit of drip here and there, but it's going to be a lot of black, just a lot of basic stuff. But the shoes, I want to break people's necks this year in training camp.
Wow.
Because they're going to see what I'm wearing, and they're going to be like, okay, that's basic. Looks like, you just got that from the equipment room, but then they're going to look down and be like, oh, okay, but what are those on a speed? That's what I'm going for this training camp. That's what the drip is really about. And then obviously once the season rolls around, then I'm going to be breaking out some really cool stuff on game days.
Sure.
Dion always said, look good, feel good, play good. So I live by that.
Thank you, my friend. Great to see you today. I'll see you out there this weekend.
Absolutely. Always good talking to you, JT.
The great Levi Edwards, big part of our insider group. Now, I got this. I'm showing the chat, this Nike sneaker that I'm showing everybody on screen right now. This is why we need you to subscribe to YouTube. I got a great pair of Nikes. I don't know what brand this model this is, but it's kind of like a boot. It's a big sneaker, one of the most comfortable but biggest sneakers I've ever worn. I'm a 10.5, 11. And everybody now, Bobby, is wearing the Nikes more and more, the Jordans. And I don't have the pure Jordan, but I got this Nike pair that I like a lot. So I don't know what model this is or what style this Nike is as I'm showing the chat on this. I'm waiting for someone to tell me here, but yeah, you go to Raider practice. I mean, Paul Gutierrez is wearing the throwback UNLV gear. Tashawn Reed's got his own drip going. There's guys. They're recognizable out there, man. I'm kind of like hiding off to the side, man. Like to hide behind the side. But, man, Levi's got a fresh pair of sneakers for every day. That's what is that, 7 days a week? He's got 28 or 30 pairs of sneakers to wear there. Wow. Bill Krackomberger at the bottom of the hour. He's going to be unbelievable. We're going to have an unbelievable conversation with Crack coming up here as we continue on. And we're taking your phone calls if you want to get in here on Nnamdi Asomugha. Well, Bobby spends a lot of time grabbing sound of the featured alumni. So other than Raiders 66, not a lot of people are participating in the summer series where we're trying to talk about the all-time and most impactful Raider draft picks. Today is Nnamdi. We haven't had a Nnamdi call yet. That's unacceptable. I'm doing my job. You do your job if you're a Nnamdi fan. If you don't know who Nnamdi is, then it's on us to tell you who he is, and we think we're going to do a good job. Robert in Portland, good to hear from you. It's been a while. How you been?
JT, I'm fired up. I'm anxious to follow your you remember how you picked up Costa Mesa last year? Will you do that again when you're down there? Please alert us to anything good or bad. I mean, you were the first to really identify some negativism. And I'm not trying to be negative now. I'm just saying it's wonderful that you've always been able to, digest what you see and then alert us as to what you think. And a lot of us are excited about what Carroll's doing. I think he's going to do it with numbers this year. And like you were saying about linebackers a minute ago, I think that's how he's going to address some of the positions we're not dominant in. That's just that's just his approach at this juncture. And that means that we need to hear who's ahead. I think Coots will be kind of parked. They don't want another injury. But if we can get enough guys rotated in that defensive front, I think that's the key, especially with Wilkins not available for a while.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the compliment, Robert. Thanks a lot. You know, some of the trolls come after me and call me a homer or a shill for the team, and I just laugh. You know, I laugh because, you know, you want me to go on the radio and get fired. Some people do for saying bad stuff about the team. I'm as honest as I can be. And the reason I always know I'm right on that topic is I host the post-game show. That's it. There's no more honest. There's not a bigger honesty broker than me when I come on after the game. If they're getting boat raced and hammered like last year and you heard me after the game, you would never call me a shill or say I'm a homer if you listened to that show, because I'm on the front lines after the game. And last year they lost 10 in a row, and they were really bad in some of those games. And I made it clear. And as Robert said last year, I saw this in Costa Mesa. I thought the offense was terrible last year in Costa Mesa, to the point where I was telling people they're not getting in any practices on offense. They're just not getting anything done. This year, everything looks great. Unbelievable right out of the gate. Looks fantastic. So far, we're 2 days in. Hopefully no injuries and more good conversations coming up. America's favorite sports gambler, Bill Krackomberger, is next. He is fantastic. We're going to talk about the top steakhouses in Vegas and a new movie coming out on a degenerate gambler, and Bill's in it. Stick around for that. All right, I'm going to keep this going for a little bit because I think you want to hear Bill Krackomberger, who is unbelievable. Matter of fact, we got over 1,000 people now in here because he retweeted it.
Don't miss Unnecessary Roughness, weekdays at 2 on Raider Nation Radio, 9:20 a.m.
Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
This is John Barr, General Manager at Finley Toyota. Been thinking about getting a new truck? Now's the time.
All right, how we doing? Golden Steer is definitely in my top 5. Golden Steer is freaking amazing, man. Amazing. Still got that bee sting on my neck. God, that hurts. Doesn't hurt. It's just a pain in the ass. Good show today, Bobby. You're kind of cruising along nicely. What's hot on the internet? Is it all Hogan?
Mostly Hogan, a little politics, a little bit about Justin Fields, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I said that you got people screaming Russian hoax, Russian collusion, Obama in jail. Then you have people saying Epstein Island, release the files.
It's all a distraction.
That's all a distraction. It is.
But that South Park was really good.
That South Park was crazy. Now, could they get sued?
Oh, sure.
They're going to get sued for that Trump.
The Scientologist sued him in season 5. Go ahead.
Did they win or lose? Because it's satire.
Yeah, exactly. That's been for almost 30 years now.
But when 60 Minutes changes the answers of a candidate and edits it, and he sues and wins, it's because that's wrong. But South Park having something fun on and comedy is something you normally don't sue. Like you can't sue Colbert for every night just ripping on him.
You can't go sue him like Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's not how that works. You know, if you're a public figure, allegedly you're supposed to be big enough to just have a laugh and let it go. I'm getting a crack now.
Yep.
Hey, Jeff, how's the new job working out?
Really sucks. Terrible boss and the paycheck is even worse. I gotta get a new job.
Truck you.
Wait, what?
Truck you.
You don't have to curse at me.
Dude, you should check out Truck You CDL training. My brother got his CDL license in 4 weeks, and now he hasn't.
Hey, Crack, Bobby, how you doing?
Okay, I'm listening.
Doing all right. I'll get you up with JT. Give me about a minute and a half, okay?
They will even help with payment programs. Check them out. Truck, the letter U, LiveE.com. Track you.
Okay, here's a.
Okay. Yeah, this will be fun.
Asomugha talking about how Al Davis wanted him in the first round.
It's not super long, is it?
30 seconds.
All right.
Offering 24-hour smog test, oil changes, detailing, bodywork, engine and transmission rebuilding. And ZipZap provides free towing and diagnostics with qualifying repairs. No appointment necessary. 24-hour service. ZipZap Auto at Cheyenne and North Durango Drive, and online at zipzapauto.com. Boyd Gaming is the official and exclusive local casino partner of the Las Vegas Raiders at Allegiant Stadium. Bring your friends, have some fun, but always bet on black. Visit their 10 casinos across the valley. Don't let the game get out of hand. Please bet responsibly.
Welcome back to the JT the Brick Show.
Brought to you by Modelo Especial, the new #1 beer in the U.S.
I think I drove up like an hour later and was walking through the facilities with my cousin and did a press conference, met the team, and then I came into camp. I was 21 years old, ready to go. It was really just Al Davis. I heard from scouts throughout my early years with the Raiders that he was not going to consider anyone else for that first pick. I played safety throughout college, but he saw speed and he saw size, and he said, I think I can develop that guy into an NFL corner.
Nnamdi Asomugha is a featured alumni on the most influential draft picks in Raiders history. We'll get back to that in a little bit. Bill Krackomberger is arguably my favorite guest. He's America's most famous, I believe, and likable sports gambler, and he's kind enough to join us. Crack, thanks for doing this. I reached out to you because I saw your top 5 steakhouse videos, and I just loved it. I want to see more of this content as you tell people around the world what Vegas is about.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, JT. Yeah, we started this new top 5 list, trying to go over so many different areas, top 5 sports books, top 5 casinos. Next, we're going to do top 5 local casinos, but we also did top 5 steakhouses in there. It's really tough because, I moved here 23 years ago, and we have really turned a corner as far as upper echelon restaurants and steakhouses being that. So it was really tough to come up with a list here. I really had 7 on there, and I had to narrow it down to 5 for the video. And like I said, it was really tough to do. But even at number 5, the steak I put on there, it was from an Italian restaurant, which I thought was just okay. The Sinatra over at the Encore, kind of just okay to me. However, I had the steak there. They have a 24-ounce. I have a 24-ounce grilled bone-in, prime bone-in ribeye. So I had it once because someone recommended it. I had it a second time, and now I had it a third time. So if you make a steak for me 3 times that I'm ordering over and over again, I have to mention it in my list, even though it was like $120 or $115, I think it was. But that's what the going rate everywhere, JT. Yeah. I want to tell you something. Everywhere I go, and no matter where you go, if you go to a steakhouse, a steak's $100 now. It used to be $50. God bless my mom. I remember I took her to my #1 spot. So I took her to that place, and we'll get to it in a second. And she whispered to me, old school Italian from the Bronx. We grew up poor with no money. She said to me, Belly, this steak's $55. Are you crazy? I mean, if she only knew now what was going on, 8 years later.
Crack joins us. There's a lot of other ones too. I hang out at One Steak with John O'Donnell just because of his glam and the party he puts on.
Him.
Yeah, he's the best. And then, Golden Steer, which I want to get to, which would have been in my top 5 or top 3. And then we both agree, Chef Barry and what Barry's doing at Circle. We're both friends with Barry over the years. It's tough because Crack, isn't it fair to say this, that most of the time in Vegas, when you go to a good steakhouse, they're going to blow you away because they need you to come back. And I haven't had many bad experiences because it seems like the steakhouses are the ones that really go out of their way to blow you away and make sure you come back.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. And I'm going to tell you something. Golden Steer, I've been to many times over the years. For a while there, they really went down. Then a new owner came in, and he lets his daughter run the place now. I actually know him. I've had dinner with him. But the last time, I'm always honest no matter what, though. So I was there about 6 weeks ago with Kenny Mayne from ESPN with a couple guys. And by the way, the lobster was fantastic. They brought a lobster out for the table we ordered. and we split the lobster up. It was fantastic. My steak, though, just okay. Nothing special. So I had them at like number 7. I was thinking about the top 5 just for the history of the place and the people that have been in there, and, you know, the mob guys, and Joe DiMaggio has his own table, and they have little placards up. That was Joe DiMaggio, Marilyn Monroe's booth. This year was Frank Sinatra's booth. This year was so-and-so booth. You know, Sammy Davis, there's one. Like, it's really cool. The allure of walking in, by the way, might be the toughest restaurant to get into. You know, I want to fold up a 20 or even a 50 and hand it to the maitre d' or the hostess. And you go to some of these restaurants now, and they have a little hostess in a short skirt. She's nice, very friendly, beautiful girls, very nice. You go to give them money, and they're petrified. They go to the boss and like, hey, this guy just gave me $50. Honey, I don't want any special favor. I just want a table. Like, you know, that this is the idea of giving you the $50. Like, you know, and I'm not trying to say that you have to throw money around to get into these restaurants. You can get in. You can get in right now at Golden Steer. If you go to put a reservation in, you're probably looking at 3 months, though. And that's crazy. That's crazy. Where my number 1 place, you go in, fold up a 20, see Tim the maitre d', you're in. You know, go to the bar for 10 minutes, you're in. You know, it's all about the power of the palm and the power of $20 or even, you know, double saw buck, $40, triples, whatever you have to give. But
you had Joe Stone's Crab as your 1, right? Because I've been at Joe's a lot of time. I don't order the steak, so I follow the marketing there. I'm sure I had some steak there, but you think when you go to Joe's at Caesar's, I did that before Sting concert and some of the events, Seinfeld. We go to Joe's, but you know normally you think you're going to get the Stone Crab or something else. So that's your number 1, Joe Stone Crab, number 1 steak in Vegas.
Listen, I've been going there since they opened the doors. I lived in Veer Towers right next door to the two towers. I walked over to Joe's once a week. I went there twice a week for a long time. I think Joe's makes the perfect steak. Their New York steak's fantastic. Right now I'm still eating their bone and ribeye and their special steak seasoning they bring to the table. It's a little seasoning that they actually make in the back. I'm told they have peppercorns from India, certain spices. There's coriander, there's garlic, there's the sesame seeds. It's really good. And you put that on the steak, sea salt, just a little bit on the steak, put it on the side at first just to test it out. You're going to love it. Their steaks are my favorite. Joe's itself is my favorite restaurant in Las Vegas after all these years. And trust me, I get nothing for telling you that. They still charge me a busted out price every time I go. I mean, you think the maitre d' or someone would throw me a little bone or anything like, throw me a peanut butter pie. They make great pies, by the way.
Crack, I got to ask you this. Bill Krackomberger is our guest, America's favorite sports gambler. One of the things that's interesting, and I'm not looking to take away from the economy of a steakhouse, but the older I'm getting and I go, I'm going through this stage of splitting steaks now. Because I go out, I go big. And when I go out, I don't want to eat a giant steak by myself. So if a buddy or two's with me, we split a steak, right? We'll split it. We'll have it cut up. We'll serve it with a side or two, not 4 sides and all of that, because we don't want to be buried in full walking into a show and all that. Are you seeing more and more people sit at the bar, slice a steak up, or do you go there and get an individual steak every time for yourself?
Now, even though we're not talking sports right now, this is why you're the best. You're the greatest setup guy ever for me. That's the reason why. You're 100% spot on. As I get a little bit older and I want to enjoy some of the sides or some of the appetizers, I will split a steak with somebody. I haven't split a steak with anyone, since birth, but I started doing that maybe a year or two ago. Get your own steak. I'm paying anyway. No one pays. All the meal rats come around and start texting me when they want to go to dinner. So, I'm paying. Just get your own steak. Do what you got to do. But you're right. You're right. There are certain times I will cut up split a steak with somebody. Absolutely. I went to Barry's about a month ago, and Barry himself came to the table, and he said to me, I'm going to make you a steak Chicago style. It's not one of our bigger steaks. I said, perfect, Barry. You just do it. I don't even know what he was doing. I didn't know what Chicago style. He comes out and says, here's what Chicago style is. I made this for you. It's charred on the top only, not the bottom, not the side, just the top. I usually like a Pittsburgh medium rare, which is charred and left, medium rare. But he made this rib cap for me, which is on their menu. It's $100. The rib cap was a perfect size, beautiful, a little bit marbled, charred on the top. absolutely perfect. And it was a perfect size for me to enjoy some of the sides. They have the corn in there, some other sides. And Barry's is really one of the hidden gems in town because a lot of people, they still don't go downtown. Well, downtown's the value if you're gambling now. The Strip is absolutely a bust-out joint. It's all over the Strip. Not only food, I'm talking about just their 000 roulette, their 6 to 5 on blackjack, and then treating everyone like a sucker. Downtown is the value now. All those casinos downtown, literally some of the best gambling odds in the world down there at the Plaza. And just Fremont Street itself has some value. And even the local casinos now. I see stations with their signs, $6 or $8 for steak and eggs. They're really leading the way. And you see, I talk good and bad about places. So, okay, stations doesn't allow me to play because I'm a winning sports bettor. They throw me out. However, I'll give them a play on their food because it's a great value.
Great. Bill Krackomberger, as we wrap it up. So you tweeted it out, Vinny Favorito, the con man of comedy. Now, the backstory on this is amazing. Brian Burkhart was a caller to my show when I moved to Vegas. Brian became one of my dear best friends, and Brian was a caller, and he called in as the Convicts comic. He had a album out on the Lam, and Brian would call me, and then we met in Vegas, and we became friends. And he's like family to me. He stays at my house, and he knows my kids. So he's been in the movie business and trying to get movies going for a while. And he always told me the stories about Vinny Favorito being probably the biggest degenerate gambler in the history of Vegas. And when I met you around this time and we became friends, Brian started talking about putting this movie together. Now the premiere is Monday in LA. I know you're going to it. How big of a degenerate was Vinny Favorito? I knew he was into you for some money. And what do you expect to see in this movie? I can't wait.
I went to a show. He was downtown, at a small show downtown at Binion's, moved to some other places. Then he got the big show at Flamingo. And I say big show because he's making $1 million, even $20,000 a week. I mean, he's making big money. It was a great show for him. I actually met him at a poker room in the Golden Nugget when I was living there for a while. And he's the greatest talker ever. And that's why you always got to be scared of someone that says they love you after the first time you meet them, because they're just half a con when they say they love you. So right away, I met him and I actually liked him. He said, "Come on, I'll give you 2 tickets to the show." Went to the show, got to see his show. The greatest break balls comedian ever.
Yes.
Listen, I'm friends with Dice. I love Dice. I've been to his house, been out with his kids, been out with him. I love Dice. Great guy. But Vinny, he just gets every audience member. Just read the tickets on the way in. Know he's going to pick on every race, including Italians, including whites. He is the greatest comedian ever. I like him a lot. However, he did get me for a lot of money. Now he paid me back. He did pay me back. That was the weird thing. So he paid me back only to get a bigger loan from me. He said, "Oh, we're gonna have a lot of T-shirts and memorabilia we're gonna sell. You're gonna be my 20% partner." So he got me for $11,000. And what am I gonna do? I got hundreds of show tickets for me and my friends. I don't care. I get to really torture him, and he's gonna be there in LA on Monday. So at the premiere. So I'm sure it's going to be a little bit uncomfortable for him because this movie really barbecued him. However, he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's looking for more money. He needs to play some Pie Gal. That's what he played. That's his game of choice, Pie Gal. The money goes slower, he says.
Correct.
He has a system.
It's amazing. This movie is going to be great because a brother of mine is making it. He put a lot of time. You know how hard it is to get a movie to come and stream and do it. You think it's easy. You film it. You edit it. You try to get financing. You try to get things done, and you can't get it done. Finally, a good segue to wrap this up is, how do you know when a gambler is a degenerate? Because a lot of guys try to show off in Vegas. I don't gamble, so they see me out there. Hey, JT, they're in the middle of playing cards or not. What are the first big warning signs that someone is a degenerate gambler, a flat-out loser? They can't win. They're not sharp, and they continue to put money into gambling and can't get out of it.
Yeah, they really don't respect the money. They don't respect the money. And sometimes they're even happiest when they go broke because the pressure's off. The money's gone. The pressure's absolutely off. Listen, I grew up a losing gambler. I grew up back east on the boardwalk in New Jersey, Kingsburg, New Jersey, a little gambling blue-collar town. We gambled every night since I'm 9, 10 years old. I grew up with my mother's Italian family. They were all degenerates. I loved them to death, but they were just degenerates. Went to the racetracks, went to play. I grew up losers. It took someone to shake me and take me and shake me and show me the right way, show me what hold percentages are, show me that sports is only 4.5% compared to horse racing. That's 20%. So listen, degenerate gambler is a silent killer too, because it goes unidentified and undiscussed until it's too late. All the apps, all these companies want you to bet on their apps now. They don't want you to bet in person. 80 to 95%. New Jersey just came out with their numbers for June. You imagine 90 million in profit in sports betting from 60 million the year before. Went up 50%. Listen, everyone's betting on their apps. This is a closet problem. It's closet gambling, live wagering, closet gambling. My buddies come out from New York and even Philadelphia. They come to Vegas. They come with a couple $1,000, maybe $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. They don't listen to me. They don't bet 2-3% of their bankroll. They're betting $500 a game, $1,000 a game. If they just run unlucky, what do? They go to the ATMs. They go to Western Union, and they don't. Even though they're around a guy like me, it doesn't matter. It's in our blood. This stuff was something that was a rite of passage for us. I get it. You can't stop betting parlays, everybody. Parlays are sucker bets. 50% of the profits of the sports books are on parlays. I know they look appetizing, look fun to do. Stop betting parlays. That's my last bit of advice.
Take care, my friend. Brilliance on the radio, and you had everything to do with it. There he is, Bill Krackomberger. Lost him there at the end. He's my favorite guest. I'm getting texts. My phone's blowing up from people who are listening. They love Crack. Crack wins. Wow. The Degenerate Gambler, Vinny Favorino, the movie's coming out. You got to see it. A lot of people in Vegas are going to hear about it. Bobby is screaming at me with his eyes to get out. I will. Brought to you by the DeCastroverde Law Group. Brothers win. The brothers win. If you get into an accident, the DeCastroverde brothers will help you. Brotherswin.com.
East Coast versus West Coast. The Mets are in San Francisco to take on the Giants Saturday at 6 and Sunday at 4. Listen in on ESPN Radio, 1100 AM and 100.9 FM. Injured in a crash? Call Sam and Ash at 702-303-0333.
Gambler's bonus hits again. On March 1st, Keith hit 4 5s, clearing his Gambler's bonus 4-of-a-kind bingo card for over $10,000.
Here's the deal, dude.
Keith hit big,
I
and
feel
so
like
can
we
you
can keep
with
our
Gambler's
summertime.
bonus. That's why you play
Thanks,
the game.
everyone. Thank you, everybody. What a show today. Hold on, let me get out of here. Hold on. Thank you. I don't know what's going on. Yes, thanks, everybody. What a day today. What a show. Thank you.